Sorry for being late, everyone. It's not because I'm a lazy, unprofessional games critic. It's because I'm a lazy, unprofessional student. Hello guys and non-binary pals. I'm just so excited that I finally get to talk about Yuppie Psycho. Oh my god, let's get into it. Yuppie Psycho, I mean, what a bloody game. In both the, literal and figurative senses. You are Brian Pasternak, an anxious nerd who kind of seems like he'd do about as well in a horror movie as an ice cube in a fucking volcano, and then he finds himself in a horror movie kind of situation. He's received a job at Sintracorp, one of the most prestigious companies in the land. No idea how it got that prestigious though, because it's kind of just a cliche beige cubicle farm kind of company, but there is that whole thing that it's kind of corrupted by the influence of this witch, which is a powerful entity that exerts complete control over all aspects of the company. So it is up to the very squishy and very blood-filled Brian to piece by piece undo the stranglehold that she has over the workplace. So I'll say in terms of the story, it isn't half bad. The plot is kind of very standard adventure. You've got to take it down Ganon or whatever, but first you have to defeat his villainous emotional support network. But in the case of YP, it's all about gathering intel on the identity and the location of your quarry. Sure, it's a structure that's been done, but it's been done because it's a nice structure that keeps things moving along. But if I'm honest, I'm not really here for the story as much as I am for the glass, metal, and carpet box that it comes in. If I had to liken Yuppie Psycho to one other piece of media, it would be the Welcome to Night Vale podcast. So much of the joy in Yuppie Psycho is seeing what crazy stuff it's just going to drop into your lap next. And I suppose if you want to be technical, maybe it would have been nicer if there was a little bit more of an internal logic to it. But I mean, it's just so much fun and craziness. Just go with it. And on a related note, I always love to talk about the presentation in games, and this is another example of really nice looking design, and I'm a fan of it. There are so many indie games that go for the pixely art aesthetic for, the nostalgia value. And I think there are probably some independent developers that kind of use pixel art as a crutch of I guess we don't have to have, high-def graphics, it's so much easier. But Yuppie Psycho is definitely one of those games where they use pixely graphics, but they just do them so well. So yeah, they can, do frickin' art. Honestly, the gameplay is the hardest part of this for me to review, because I have issues with it, but I also kind of see why it really works well in the game. So basically, I'm a very anxious person and I don't like to waste time, and this is a game that will sometimes waste your time. It's very interesting because one of the points early on in the game really opened my eyes to how interesting the narrative is, but it also made me very wary of the gameplay. And that point is when I found out about the saving system. So in the game of Yuppie Psycho, it uses resource-based saving. So essentially what that means is that over the course of the game, you will find photocopiers in various locations. And there's basically two resources that you need to use when interacting with the photocopiers. You will need to put ink into photocopiers that you haven't interacted with yet. So that kind of is like a way of unlocking the ability to use that save point. And every time you save, you will have to use a piece of witch paper. The thing is, as I said, it was definitely one of those moments of, oh my god, you can photocopy your soul, and every time you do so, you get kind of this image of Brian just pressed against the glass, let me out, kind of. And I love that it fits so well with that aesthetic. But at the same time, that's essentially communicating, okay, saving is a limited resource. You need to make sure you're using it at the right time so you don't lose a lot of progress if you die, but you can't do it too often, otherwise you'll have, half the game where you have to just do it without being able to save. And here's the thing, it put me on edge, and in one sense, I kind of get it, and I totally get why, there might be some people that are just that's a good decision. If it put you on edge, you should put that in a horror game, which this is. And I totally get that. at the same time, especially at the start, you know, you don't necessarily know what you're doing. You know, some of the time you just accidentally meander into traps, and then you're like, oh, I just lost half an hour of progress, and you have to just do all of that over again. So it is very telling that even as much as I love this game, and as much as I think this is a fantastic game, this is a game that, at best, I played for like maybe an hour, and then even if I'd like done really well and made a lot of progress and like yay me, I would still have to turn it off, like do something else for like a period of time before I was like, okay, my composure's back, let's get back into this. This isn't like a permanent problem, because as you play through the game, you kind of understand how things operate enough that you can kind of do so without feeling like, oh, I need to keep saving every 5 seconds kind of thing. And I think also as you build up resources and as you're like, oh, I've got 8 pieces of paper, you start, you know, becoming less anxious about that. So overall, that isn't a terrible thing. Having said that, it doesn't get like so easy all the time that it doesn't make you nervous. Like, you kind of get halfway through and then they change things up quite a bit. Like, I will say, like, in terms of the difficulty, it does kind of feel like they have kind of tried to artificially make it a little bit more challenging by including this saving mechanic. It's not super hard. It's more just, some of the time it's a bit intimidating, and some of the time you don't necessarily understand how things are operating. I mean, like, this game is very good at finding all kinds of ways to provoke your anxiety. I would just like to say, as my verdict, it's a pretty bloody good game. It very much falls into the Monster Prom hole of, this is pretty damn good, and the fact that very few people know about it is pretty criminal, which is, you know, all the more reason that I'm so enthusiastic that I you know, get to review this and get to tell you guys about this. So yeah, I would 100% recommend it. I don't think it's too scary if you're not into horror. Like, there aren't a lot of jump scares. Like, it's just kind of genuinely a lot of just atmosphere. And yeah, I think it is a fantastic horror with a bit of comedy kind of experience, and you, dear viewers, should check it out. Anyway, that is the end of the review. Thank you guys, gals, and non-binary pals so much for tuning in. We've got some exciting stuff. I'm going to be posting quite a bit this week to kind of make up for the fact that I haven't been on for a few weeks. It's some bloody exciting games that I can't wait to tell you about. But until then, I've been Sam Harkin. If you have enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Please comment. Please donate to our Patreon. That is always appreciated. Yeah, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!